All right. I'm back here on Prime Parents once again for another episode. It is me, Chico to the C, and the place to be, B-I-W-G-O-D-O-Dub, should I say. And we're here. We have a special guest once again. I mean, this one right here is I'm honored to have her. She has a unique story, being a football wife and a football mother. So we'll get right into it. We have Miss Kim Mathis, the wife of Kevin Mathis, of course, Colorado football cornerbacks coach. She's a Dallas, Texas native, best-selling author, public speaker, member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She's an entrepreneur, podcast host, interior designer, addiction advocate, master of fine arts, of course, a wife. And the reason why we're here today on Prime Parents is she's the mother of CU Buffs freshman wide receiver, Kaleb Mathis. So I want to add on with me right now. Give it up for Miss Kim Mathis, everybody.
Well, appreciate it. Thank you for that warm welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for joining me. So we'll get right into it. We'll talk about your background a little bit, coming from Dallas, Texas. Can you tell me about what you want to share about your upbringing so people can get to know you a little bit better?
Well, a little bit about myself. As you said, I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, so proud of the Dallas Independent School District. Shout out to my Skyline High School. And I spent all of my young adulthood and life there until I went to college. During that time, I really grew as a person because, as my story goes, was born to a mother who had a tumultuous addiction to both heroin and cocaine. So I wrote a book about that entitled Dope Girl that helped me navigate what it was like to live with an addict and the mental illness of it. And I used that adversity to be the very best that I could be. So that after high school, I went on to college and excelled in school where I was, you know, named to a host of organizations. And I cheered there as well. And that's where I met my husband, and the rest is history.
Wow. All right. So I guess we'll get right into it. Tell us about how you met Coach. I'm sure he wasn't coach at the time. He was probably stud football player. So tell us about meeting Coach and how that went. That love story.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, as you said, he was a stud football player, and I was a freshman on campus. So, it was make me no, never mind. I was like, okay, he's a football player. But we had a mutual friend that I went to high school with who was also at school with us. And we went to Texas A&M University in Commerce, who was also on member of the football team. And so he came up to me one day in the cafeteria in the student center and he was like, hey, I got a friend that wants to meet you. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to meet anybody. I've had my fair share of, new introductions. So I think I'm good. And he was like, no, 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 really, no. I want you to look over there at that table and you see that guy wearing number 3. He just so happened to have on, his football jersey that day. And he was like, that's my dog, Kevin Mathis, and I want you to meet him. And I was like, okay. So after about a week, he set it up for us, and we met at a mutual location, and we just hit it off immediately. And so here we are, 26 years later.
Wow, amazing. 26 years later and 3 kids later, of course.
Yep.
And your middle child, your first son, is Kaleb.
Yep.
Quick question. I didn't do this research, but it just came up to me. Your name begins with a K, Kevin. Uh, all of your kids with the K?
You are right. We are the K5 is what we call ourselves. So we have Kevin, Kim, Kennedy is my oldest child, and she's 21. Caleb, who is 19, and Cole, who is 17, almost 18.
Wow, amazing. All of them athletes?
Every one of them are athletes. My daughter was a competitive cheerleader for a while. She cheered at Xavier University for a little bit. She has now transitioned full time to be with us here in Colorado. So she's not doing the athletic thing anymore. However, Caleb is, of course, my athlete. And then my youngest boy also plays football for Fairview High School in Boulder.
Nice. So you guys made that full family transition to Boulder, Colorado.
We
From
did. All 5 of us made the haul.
All right. So before we go get to Boulder for sure, let's go to all right, so you have Kaleb, and let's go back to the high school days. Or matter of fact, let's go early childhood days. How was Kaleb as a youngster?
Kaleb, as a youngster, was very, very quiet. He was always my mild mannered kid. Never was a man of many words, never was a kid of many words. But whenever he did say something, it was always something worth listening to. He was very inquisitive. Kaleb is an analytical brain, as I call him. So he's the one who digests information and processes it before he says anything. So most of us do a whole lot of talking and not a whole lot of listening. But Kaleb is my kid that is just the opposite. He does more listening than he does talking, so that whenever he does say something, it's usually something most people need to hear.
Right. So I'll take it being that analytical type kid, type brain. He was
Yep.
a good student. How was he in school?
So you hit it the nail on the head because he's an analytical type brain. He was actually very naturally gifted in school, especially in the realm of science and math.
Yeah.
Kaleb, as a kid, was advanced in both of those subject areas, and so he was ahead 2 years of school in both math and science. So even coming into high school, he had already completed half of his high school math and science requirements at his previous school because he had tested at such an advanced level. And a little bit further down the road, when he got ready to go to college and we started entertaining, the college entrance exams and all of that, he excelled really well and scored, an astonishing 30 of 36 on the ACT for college entrance exams.
Wow. Okay, so we know Coach Mathis's professional background, and
Yep.
of course he gets some. I guess we can go a lot of his athletic ability from Coach. Well, we know, or can you tell us about your educational background, which is vast, a little bit? Give the
Sure.
people a history of yours, because I'm
Well,
sure, not to cut you off, I'm sure that's where he got that from. You're going to take credit for that. Let Coach
I
take credit.
definitely take credit
Yeah.
for that. I'm like, Kevin can't have everything. He does get his athletic ability from his dad, without a doubt. Now, I did cheer in high school, so I was an athlete as well, and I cheered 4 years of my college career as well. So I finished, my senior year of college, on the co-ed cheer squad. But as far as my educational background, like I said before, that was something that I always took a lot of pride in. And like I mentioned before, I came from a real tumultuous background where my mom was a drug addict. So I used the educational piece as a motivation factor to get me to where it is that I wanted to be. So I was always, gifted in the areas of English and writing, and all of those things came very naturally to me. So in high school, I graduated with highest honors, National Honor Society. I went on to attend Texas A&M University at Commerce on a full academic scholarship there. And then once I left school, I went on, I was just a mom. I got married about a year after graduating from college. And because Kevin was in NFL, we were busy engulfed in the life of what a professional athlete was like and navigating all of those dynamics and
Right.
living in two places at once since where Texas is. Now, the thing is, he was, his first team was the Dallas Cowboys. So it didn't, affect us too much in terms of, having to transition. But then just recently, I finished my educational goals and I went back to school and finished my master's degree, Master of English and Creative Writing in December of 2022. So it's 20 years down the road, but I was determined to do it and finish it. And so I'm really, really proud.
Wow, as you should be. I went back and got mine later on down the road also. So as you
Oh,
should be. It's not an easy process to do, and
no,
whether it's online or in classes with younger people, they,
exactly.
so
Yep,
congratulations on that.
yep.
um,
And I have aspirations of getting my doctorate, but then I think about it sometimes and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm really ready for all of the torture of, 15 and 20-page papers. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break in time to think about it. So we'll see.
and so that led to you writing your best-selling book, Dope Girl, and
Yeah.
talking about your trauma in your past, and like you said,
Yeah.
your your mom who was an addict,
Mhm.
and all the things you went through with that. How did that affect you or inspire you as far as being a wife and a mother?
Oh, wow, great question. So, as far as my experience, normally when people are born into adversity, you do one of two things. You either fall victim to the situation, or you do the opposite and you try to find an alternative that has you respond in a way that's more positive. So, like I said, I use my educational, motivation, my educational desires as motivation to create a different path and a different life for myself, because growing up as a kid, I never had a real relationship with my mom because she was battling the mental illness of addiction. And I like to say that she was walking around like a ghost in her own body that we didn't know, because she was so unrecognizable from a mental and physical standpoint. So, with all of that being said, I channeled all of those lessons into the book Dope Girl, because it is my way, it was a therapeutic way of me understanding what it was like to live with other people's choices. So my goal was to write this book in a way that inspires other people to navigate their situation and not be victim of other people's choices, and to understand mental illness, addiction, I'm sorry, for the mental illness that it is, and not, just criminalizing people for being addicts. Because there's so much more that encompasses an addict than it is just, oh, we're going to criminalize them. Because nobody wakes up one day and decides they want to be an addict.
Right.
Addiction is usually the outward language of an inner unhealthiness. So when we're unhealthy on the inside, we try to find ways to cope. So I channeled all of that energy and those experiences into my book Dope Girl. And whether you have been, somebody that's an addict, or you have any experience with anybody that's an addict, you will find yourself in this book, because it's so much more about addiction than it is about healing from within. Understanding, like I said, what it's like to live with other people's choices, and to create and set boundaries, for yourself, and then seeking God in all things.
Correct. Right. I like that. So
Mhm.
I need to put a link down below for the book for anybody who haven't checked it out yet. Get down
Absolutely.
below, get the link and or hit the link and check out the book Dope Girl. So uh, into motherhood now. You have Caleb, your second son,
Yes.
great student in school. You're recognizing all of his talents and capabilities. When is it that you put him on the football field, and whether it's youth league or whatever, and he starts to shine, or he starts to show these abilities?
Well, I will tell you what, Caleb started to show signs of a great understanding of the game early on, because Caleb's football IQ is something to reckon with. Though his physical stature was a lot smaller than most of his peers, it took him a while to kind of catch up physically. But Caleb, whenever he had the opportunity, he was always the kid that made the play at the right time when he was supposed to, because his football IQ put him in a place to where he understood the assignment, and he was always where you needed him to be. It's a reason why the coaches call him Mr. Reliable, because he's exactly where he's supposed to be, and he understands the game on a level that is just really impressive.
Right. Now, I'm sure that goes back to his analytical mind, but also how did coach his dad play into that, as far as watching film or something, or did
Oh
he
man.
watch his dad on TV, or how did that
Oh
work?
man. So Caleb has been watching film, I mean, since he came out of the wound. And it may not be the actual film, X's and O's that the coaches study, but he has been a diehard football fan, since we can remember. And Kevin has always sat him down, and they've watched games together where he's asked him questions about what the receiver was doing, what the defensive back was supposed to be doing, and what coverage were they playing, and teaching him different things. As a child, his absolute favorite team was the Oklahoma Sooners. And so for a very, very long time, he grew up saying that he was going to the University of Oklahoma. So every Saturday, without a shadow of a doubt, we were sitting at home watching OU play football, and
Mhm.
Caleb had everybody in the house turning into Boomer Sooners. So, with that being said, my husband would use those opportunities with him watching OU to really help him understand the game and break down what was happening more than just the receiver ran a route and he caught the ball and the defender was supposed to do this, but really breaking it down. Then it got a little bit more advanced as he got older, and we understood at an early age that he could understand football from a really intensive perspective. So then it became write it on paper, and Kevin would draw stuff on paper and tell me, okay, where does this guy go? Where does this guy go? And where does this guy go? It was,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'm like, what are we doing here? But he totally understood it. He embraced it, and it has definitely paid off.
Yes, and you can tell. Not jumping too far ahead, but even in the spring game,
Mhm.
back you could tell Shador trust him to be in
Yes.
the right places. He was there. He made those plays as
Yeah.
a freshman. Surprised a lot of people.
Mhm.
Just just being that steady guy and being reliable, like you said, Mister
Yes.
Reliable. So,
Yes.
did that go back? Did that start in high school? How was he in high school? As far as an athlete, was he highly recruited? Did people kind of overlook him because of his size? How did that play out?
I mean, you're spot on. Caleb, as a high school athlete, he progressed so much within the last 2 years. He was always the kid that you could depend on who understood it from a different vantage point. However, because he was a lot smaller than most of them, his size, I think, got in the way of people's expectations or perceptions. But I think as he started to catch up a little bit, they understood that this kid, has something and he has something special. So
Right,
he was not highly recruited, I think, primarily because of his size. But the more opportunities that he was able to get, the more people realized that, okay, we're overlooking some of his abilities here. So no, he wasn't highly recruited, and all he ever wanted was an opportunity and a chance. But because Caleb has grown up with his dad and Coach Prime primarily as his only coaches his entire life, I think they knew what Caleb was capable of doing. They knew what his skill set was and what he could contribute and bring to the table, specifically with, high power staff like we have here at CU, who would put him in the position to really develop and grow, as an overall all around athlete.
right. Stepping back just a second, though, at what year did Coach Kevin Mathis, what year did he start working with Coach Prime in the younger leagues?
Oh, you mean in the younger leagues or when they first started working together, period?
Was it Trinity or was it before that?
No, it was way before that. So, Dion started a youth football league called Truth.
Truth.
And it was a high power dynamic, youth football league. And we traveled all over the country, doing tournaments and taking the kids to see, college campuses and different
Yeah,
things like that, that allowed the kids a lot of exposure, that, traditional programs would not have allowed. And that program started in 2008. So
right.
almost 20 years ago. It's been quite some time. And so, with all of that, they had a level of excellence and a standard of excellence from the very, very beginning. And those principles have been the standard, from the very beginning. That is the standard. The standard is the standard. And
Right.
so, even in youth Pee Wee, I mean, there was always a lot of discipline and lots of structure. And because they both, Kevin and Dion, are so rooted in the old school grind of what football looks like. They taught that to the kids even then, back in 2008.
Yeah. So Caleb is the youngest out of Shador and Shiloh, but he's been playing with them. I
Yes,
can imagine since he was, even just
4
the
years old.
right,
Yes.
just a young pup out there running around.
Yes, he was on the little Pee Wee team, with them, and he played flag. And so, of course, Shador played on a different team because he's just a year older.
Mhm.
But Caleb played on the flag. But they have been together just as a unit at least since Caleb was 4 and 5, as early as he could possibly play, playing Pee Wee. And then they progressed and they got older, and they were on the same playing field because they were the same age, about the same age. And
Yeah.
then they went to, Coach Kevin and Dion went to Trinity Christian High School in Cedar Hill, Texas. And then Caleb and Shador were on the team together, and Shador was Caleb's wide receiver. I mean, I'm sorry, Caleb's quarterback. And so he has some experience playing with him, just, as a freshman and a sophomore in high school until Shador made the transition to Jackson State.
Right. So that's
Mhm.
exactly where I want to go to. Jackson State. Shador goes to Jackson State. Coach Prime gets the head coaching job. Of course, he calls his boy, Coach Mathis, to come along with him. He accepts it. Um, do you guys immediately move to Jackson, Mississippi? How does that work?
Yeah, the transition the transition was pretty fast, because it was COVID, so it was a really weird, season. They didn't really, you know, um, play a traditional season when they first got there, but they transitioned pretty quickly. And they got there in January and immediately went to work, revamping the structure, revamping, just their ideology for what they wanted to accomplish, installing their philosophy of I believe and getting everybody to buy in to the mantra of I believe and exactly what that means and how it is beneficial when we change our mindsets and really own what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So they started that process immediately, right after he was hired.
Right. So for the parents out there listening, you might have a football or sports spouse or whatever, and you're wondering how do you handle these things. How is it having a husband as a coach and traveling these different places? Because a lot of coaches even go to much more different places than just Jackson and then
Hmm.
Colorado with Coach Prime. So how is
Hmm.
that just handling keeping the family together and everything sane? And because
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it is, a lot, when you have to move, multiple times. Luckily, we're fortunate that we haven't had to move a whole lot of places. But it doesn't matter where they go. We're here to support. We're in for the long haul. They are awesome at what they do, and we hope that this train continues to go down the track. But in terms of not being able to, moving around so much, like I said, we've been fortunate that we haven't had to go a whole lot of places. But I will say that with my kids being a little bit older, it has really been beneficial because I don't really have babies anymore that I have to worry about, really suffering trauma from losing friends or being in a new environment or, having to start over. Because mine are older, they're pretty established in their friend circles and in their personalities that they adapt fairly well. And because school is pretty much online anywhere now,
Mhm.
it is, a much easier transition than in the past or would normally be for most families. The only person that really had to do a little bit more transitioning was my younger son, Cole, who is a senior in high school this year because school is back in session full time. We're going to brick and mortar building. We're not, doing online, like we were in COVID. So he did have to make the transition of moving from his high school in Texas to a high school here. And so, but it has worked out just fine.
Yeah, leaving a lot of his friends.
Correct. So I mean, it's still traumatic, leaving friends no matter what age you are, but it definitely becomes a little bit more bearable when they're older,
Mhm.
because you can stay in touch and there's FaceTime and you can call and they play video games online together and
Yeah,
so they find ways to stay connected.
exactly. All right, so Jackson State, we're going to Colorado, and Caleb has a chance to join the team now because he's graduating and going to
Mhm.
college. Um, he's probably one of the first two or three guys we've seen on the well off videos when they got there in the locker rooms and stuff. Became a fan favorite almost instantly. Uh,
Mhm.
just talk about the transition to Colorado and how has that been for yourself and the family?
Well, I mean, The transition has been awesome. I will say the people in Colorado are absolutely loving and welcoming, and we couldn't be more proud to be a part of this community where they are just embracing us with open arms, and everybody is here on a mission to make the University of Colorado, the place to be. So we are excited about the transition. It is absolutely beautiful here, one of the most beautiful states that I've been to. So I mean, hard not to really like. I will tell you, I'm from the South. I'm a Texas girl through and through, so I don't really like the cold. But I will say that it has been. Can you give me 1 second? I'm so sorry. So I don't really like the cold, but outside of that, it is beautiful. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. But I will say that, the people are nice and welcoming. The city has embraced us, and it's absolutely beautiful. Once you find your own community and a group of people that you can attach to, it makes the transition a lot better. And everybody at CU is like a big family. So it has been, it's been awesome for us so far.
Excellent. We have some questions, of course, I wanted to get to before we get out of here. So I won't hold you too long. So I'm just going to go through some of the ones that came through on YouTube. This is from Larry. It says, "How has your son adjusted to the demands of college football, both academically and athletically?"
Ooh, good question. Caleb thought he had it rough in high school trying to manage, a rigorous course academic load and, play football, but he had not quite experienced, adversity, or not adversity, but he had not quite experienced stress the way he had until he got here, because, the demands are just so much greater when it comes to, D1 athleticism and football programs, and then the workload of what the academic requirements look like on this level. So he is adjusting. I will tell you, as a parent, I have had to be on him more than ever about his grades, because though Caleb is very naturally athletic, academically gifted, he's tired so much more than what he probably, would have been on a high school program. So I have to do constant check-ins, hey, did we do this? Hey, did we turn this in? Hey, send me this. Let's look over and make sure you did everything that you're supposed to do. Was this one on time? Just trying to keep him afloat and holding him responsible and accountable for what his, academic responsibilities are, because we're a student first, and not an athlete, but we're a student first. And so he's adjusting much better this semester because he's had the spring underneath him and now he understands what to expect. But it has been difficult just from a workload standpoint on both sides, on the football side and the academic side.
Great. I'm glad you said that and explained that like that, so that for the parents out there listening of athletes, the workload is something that is going to be more of like the shock or the
Mhm.
culture shock for the young
Right.
players coming in. So for all the grief and stuff that the freshmen have been getting recently, for whether it's being late, on time, whatever it is,
Yep.
uh, parents have to probably help out some too. What advice would you give
Right.
to some parents of freshman athletes, no matter where they are, whether
Yep.
Colorado or anywhere? What advice would you give to them?
Well, my advice is to stay engaged. I know we think that once they get to college that we have set them up for success and that they are equipped to kind of handle things on their own. But when it comes to college in general, that freshman year is such a year of growth and transition that we really have to kind of coddle them a little bit through it, just to make sure that they understand what is expected. Because what you don't want to do is cause any strife or disadvantage in your freshman year, because then you'll be spending the rest of your academic career or the rest of your athletic career trying to recoup from whatever mistakes that you made. So as a parent, what I try to do is just really hone in on what Caleb's responsibilities are, and I try to make sure that I do weekly and daily check-ins with him to make sure that he's making a list and he's checking it twice, and that he's visiting his academic advisor, and that he's taking advantage of those tutoring sessions, and that he's doing everything that he's supposed to do, because nobody is going to worry about, in a few years, what, oh, Caleb's a great football player, but I also want Caleb to finish what he came here for, which was also to earn a degree. And
Exactly.
so, just as a parent, because that is so pivotal to us and pivotal in my household, I want to make sure that I do everything that I can to hold him accountable. Now, I will admit he doesn't like it, because in some regards he may feel like I'm babying him, but I know that at the end of the day, he'll be happy that I stayed on him and didn't just leave him to his own devices,
Right.
because, because Power Five is demanding,
Mhm.
these kids are tired. They're exhausted. He did a video on one of his YouTube channels where it was a day in the life. And I think he started at 5:30 a.m. and he didn't get home till 9:30 or 10 a.m. So you talk about 13 and 14-hour days for these kids most of the time. So finding the energy just to do what they have to do is a chore in itself. It's not that they can't, it's not that they're incapable, but it takes a matter of mental toughness and adjusting to where they understand what is expected. And no matter how tired or how frustrated they are, that they get it done. So my advice to parents is to make sure that you stay engaged. Don't leave your kids to their own devices. Check, check, and double check.
I think that answers the second question of how do you manage communication with your son, especially during the busy football season, to ensure a healthy parent-child relationship.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of answering it right there. Just
Yeah,
staying involved, staying engaged each and every day.
yeah.
You can stand on top of things, just making sure that he's,
Yep.
being responsible.
We text a lot, back and forth. And, sometimes I can always tell whether he's in class or in a meeting or, at practice or something, depending on how quickly he responds to me. But I text him often to make sure that he's good. And my question is always, you good, sunshine? You good, sunshine? To make sure that he knows I'm here to help you and assist you in whatever way that, you need me. So I try to keep the lines of communication open. Don't just talk to him all the time about football or school, but check in for his mental health and his mental well-being too, and just to make sure that he's handling everything, in a healthy way.
Right. Um, Lighter question: did Caleb play multiple sports coming up?
He did, actually. He
Okay.
did. He played basketball, and he played baseball, and he did a little bit of track. He wasn't a sprinter, of course. Caleb was more of a distance runner. So
Mhm.
he did the 800 and the mile a couple of times. He was pretty successful at that. And he played basketball all the way up until about his freshman year of high school, and then that's when he decided that he was going to be exclusively football and concentrate on that wholeheartedly. But he did. He played soccer as well. He was a great little soccer player.
I was going to say,
He
I
was
thought
a great little soccer player. He
yes,
was very nifty.
you can see that with his moves on the field. I was going to say, I
Yes,
thought he
he
was
was
a
a
soccer player.
great little soccer player. I almost forgot about that. But yes, so he played soccer, baseball, and basketball.
Right. Okay. How do you handle game day emotions, and what rituals or traditions do you have to stay positive and engaged?
Ooh, ooh, that's a good one. These game day emotions, I tell you, they take me back to the days of the NFL when my husband was playing in the NFL, and you just have those nervous jitters because you want them to do well and you want them to have some success, and you want every child and every coach out there to walk off
Mm,
healthy,
yeah.
and injury free. And so, game day jitters, I really just try to hone in on the fact that God has called him to such a time as this, and he has groomed him to be, in this situation and with this opportunity. And though he's still waiting for, his opportunity to break out as at wideout, we know that it's coming and that he will be there eventually, because Caleb plays inside, not outside. But
Hmm.
right now, he's taking advantage of his opportunity on special teams, and he's doing well on the kickoff team. So managing my game day stress, when we get ready to kick off, I'm just like, Lord, don't let him miss the block. Don't let him miss the tackle. Just let him be successful and in the right place and focused to where he can execute exactly what it is that we know he's capable of doing.
And side note, he made the first tackle in the TCU game on the kickoff.
He did. He did. The very first tackle of the primetime era.
Prime era, yeah.
He
That's
did.
for that. That special teams is important also. A lot of people don't realize how important special teams
Oh,
are.
yeah.
It's the third element of the ball game. It
Yep.
can, as we've seen this year, it can sway the ball game one way or the other.
Yes, it can.
And
Yes.
most NFL players have played special teams at some point in college, and sometimes they come into the league playing
Yes.
special teams. So that's
Yes.
very important.
My husband has instilled in Caleb that you have to play special teams and be well rounded in order to hone skills in other areas. That
Hmm.
special teams is just as important in anything else, and you use that to your advantage, to just take advantage of your opportunity. And I will say that Caleb has been the epitome of what it means to take advantage of his opportunity.
Right. I would say this. He probably went through some of the things that Shador and Shiloh went through. And we saw Coach Prime say how he had to go through, or the kids had to go through coming up being NFL's son, pro player son, or you
Yes.
were given this, you're not that good. How
Yes.
has Caleb had to deal with that coming up? And how has Coach Mathis dealt with that and tried to keep his confidence up, so to speak?
Oh
If
my
he had
goodness.
to.
Well, that's a really interesting question because you're right. There's so much the level of scrutiny for athletes, kids is, 10 times what it would be a normal child,
Right.
just because of the level of expectations. But we have to be careful not to associate or identify the kid with their father and who they are, their skill set. Yes, they are of the same pedigree. Yes, most of them are insanely talented, but there are most of the time they do have their own identities. And so I really appreciate the fact that though uh, that Mathis name has always, kind of been something that has swirled around, Caleb his entire athletic career, that
Mhm.
he has been open to standing up to the challenge and just accepting himself for what he knows that he can do, being confident in his own skill set and not allowing, his dad's success to infiltrate, how he goes about conducting his business because Caleb is not a DB like Kevin was. Kevin was a DB, and Caleb decided to play on the offensive side of the ball, which he felt like was a better fit for him and a better fit for his skill set.
Right.
So, with that being said, it is awesome that, he's had my husband and Coach Prime to pour so much knowledge into him his entire life, since they basically are the only two coaches he's had most of his life growing up. But I think Caleb has handled it very well, what it's like to be a coach's kid because he's just confident in who he is. He
Yep.
does what it is that he knows how to do, and he doesn't allow, that to anything else to deter him.
Right. Um, going to paraphrase this question because I think it's a good one. But I've seen a couple pictures with you with some of the other players' moms. I've seen you with Miss Tracy also. How has that relationship been? Just fostering relationship with the other wives and player moms and things of that nature. How's that been?
I mean, I absolutely love the camaraderie amongst the women. It allows us to have a safe space where we can, lean on each other and just trying to understand the what football means because to us football is just not something they do. It's a ginormous part of our lives.
Yeah.
So I love the ability to be able to lean on other parents and other women who are in this arena who can understand challenges that other women who are not in this world might not be able to understand what those pressures are or what those expectations are or what daily life is like, making sure that we have created, nice home environments and that, we have, all the tools that we need to be successful. So I appreciate all the village of women who are pouring into my life and that I can call at the drop of a dime
Mhm.
because for us mothers who have kids that are out there, we all just want them to be successful and we all want them to, just have the best experience possible. So being able to call another sister who understands is just, a lifeline that we can't take for granted.
Okay. All right, we're gonna we at what 39 minutes right now. Make sure you guys get down in the comments and let us know what you think about this. Also, get in the link below. You can get Miss Kim Mathis's best-selling book, also called "Dope Girl," and support Caleb in his NIL situation with the jerseys and things at the Colorado NIL store. I have a link down below for that. Also, how cool is it to see and to be able to purchase gear with the name on the back and your son's number? How cool is that for the NIL nowadays?
I mean, when I tell you, it is definitely strange and weird. I mean, you see other people doing it from other programs prior to Caleb becoming a college athlete and, making it to this level and having the opportunity to, make an impact here, have his own experience here. You
Yeah,
see players or parents, with their kids' jerseys on, and it's awesome. But being able to experience it, I will tell you, it is a little bit weird because I'm like, I cannot believe that I could click on a link and my child's name is on the back of his jersey, and I didn't go make it myself.
right. Like back in the day, that's what we had to do, right? You had to go make it yourself.
Exactly. I mean, it's just something to be proud of that, God is giving him this unbelievable opportunity, and
Mhm.
that in the world of NIL that he can actually benefit in some small way from, his name and his image and his likeness, so that, he can just continue to do great things. So I am stoked about it, and it is definitely weird. I'm glad I don't have to make them myself anymore.
All right. What are some of the off-field skills and or qualities you believe are important for your son's success, both in football and in life?
Ooh, some off the field skills. One of the main things I would say would be time management.
Mhm.
His time management is literally everything, and learning to alleviate procrastination. But all of that comes with first a changed mindset, and just understanding that if I've got a changed mindset and I understand that time is valuable and it is the one commodity that we can't get more of, it's the
Mhm.
one thing that we can't get back, that you take advantage of your time and that you use it wisely. So understanding the value of time and how to prioritize that is something that I think is most beneficial on and off the field, and learning how to alleviate distractions and that lead to procrastination. But all of those things start with a mindset and understanding the value in all of that first.
Amazing. I like that. So speaking of mindset, let's get into Coach Prime and how he has changed the mindset of shoot everybody who's know anything about something about Colorado football.
Right.
Uh, he's come in there and done amazing things. Your husband's right there with him. Caleb's been a part of it. How has
Mhm.
he been experiencing this and being a part of it also?
I
Just seeing
mean,
it unfold in front of you.
this is not new. This is exactly who Coach Prime is. This is who he is at his core. He is a fire starter, and he will go and reignite a flame anywhere that he goes. We don't call him prime time for nothing.
Right.
My husband has a 27-year relationship with Dion because they started out as teammates together in 1997 for the Dallas Cowboys. So their relationship spans 27 years, and together they have such an amazing relationship that I've been able to see over the course of that relationship just exactly who Dion is. And Coach Prime is that guy. He is a fire starter. He's all about change and disrupting the norm so that he can bring out the excellence and in everyone. And it's just a sight to see and behold. He does it his way, and he does it unapologetically, and he does it in a way that rears results. So how can you argue with someone who is so effective at rearing results? And so I'm just so proud to call him my big brother and to be a part of this journey. And we've been on this ride for a very long time. But being with him and seeing this is not new to me because he has always been this guy. And we have been believing since the very, very beginning.
Wow. 25 plus years. How would you say? 26 or
20,
29?
27 years they've been friends and they've been together and they've been doing things together and coaching together. and playing together for 27 years.
Wow. Amazing. And going back real quick, going back to those 27 years, did you know when they became best buddies or friends or whatever it was at the time, did you know how this would possibly impact both of you guys' life? Uh,
Absolutely not, because at the time Dion was the star of all stars, and he still is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Prime time is prime time. But in 1997, when we first had started a relationship with Dion, he was a larger than life figure in the sports world. I mean, and he still is, but he was at that time specifically a larger than life figure in the sports world. So when he befriended Kevin and he was a rookie and he took Kevin under his wing, I never in my wildest dreams would imagine that they would still be this close so many years later. But the more that time goes on, the more I realize they were destined to be friends because they're so much alike. Their personalities are so much alike in the sense that they demand excellence and they don't take excuses and they value hard work, and that's just who they are. It's just who they are.
okay. Last couple questions. I got one personally for me.
Yep.
Coach Mathis, his Instagram has fella on there. Is
Yes.
that like a nickname of his, or is that something he says a lot as a coach? Where did the fella come from?
Man, that's interesting that you asked that because when he was a rookie in the Dallas Cowboys, they nicknamed him Lil Fella, and no one other than Coach Prime is the one who gave him that nickname, Lil Fella, and it has just stuck
Yeah.
all of these years. So he doesn't even call him Kevin or Coach Mathis. He just calls him Fella, as he has for the last 27 years.
That's a southern nickname too, because
Yep,
that's
because
not the
he was the little fella on the team. Yep.
that's not the my uncle fella back in Selma, Alabama.
Yeah. Yep.
What's your favorite part of game day with Caleb?
Yep.
Just over the years and looking forward into the future because he has at least 3 more years left. You guys
Mhm,
going to see this thing through coming
mhm.
from the beginning. What's your favorite part of going through game day as a mother?
Um, as a mom, my favorite part of game day is just seeing him with his jersey on, to be honest with you, because it signifies to me that he's living his dream, that he is where he wants to be, and that this is something most athletes aspire to do and don't always get an opportunity to accomplish. So, whether he actually runs out there on the field or not, knowing that he's in a place where he actually has a jersey with his name on it and he can put it on means that he has a chance and he has an opportunity. And I just love seeing him with his jersey on because it just tells me that this kid is living his dream, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We have 47 minutes. We'll let you leave with your last piece of advice to all parents, mothers out there, whether you're a single, whatever it is, you're trying to be an entrepreneur, you have things you feel like you want to do, you can't do it because it is, you
Yep.
know, what are some inspiring words out there from a best-selling author, a public speaker, a sorority member, entrepreneur, podcast host, designer, and so many other things? What are
Yes.
your advice?
Well, my advice would be to just do it afraid. I literally live my life by the mantra, do it afraid. No matter what it is, there will always be challenges or obstacles, whether it's parenting, whether it's trying to calm down an anxious athlete, whether it's battling an illness or a bad relationship or financial problems or a lost job, whatever it might be, there is always a way to leave that situation. And no matter how big or how scary it seems, do it afraid because your healing and your breakthrough could be on the other side of that fear. So I just encourage you, no matter what it is that you're facing in this life, whatever your challenge is, just step out on faith, trust God, and do it afraid.
Do it afraid because your healing and blessing could be on that other side.
Exactly.
Man, I
Exactly.
like that. That's something to live by. We've been getting some great advice from the moms on here, these prime parents that we've been having. I'm super excited about this, and I really appreciate you guys for joining me. I appreciate you for coming on and just lending your time to me because, like you said earlier, time is something you can't get back.
That's it. Well, I appreciate you so much for having me, and I want to congratulate you on this new platform and for stepping out there into a new arena and taking that step to be different and to be authentic. This is an awesome opportunity for you, and I just wish you nothing but the best. And thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Blessings to you. That is Miss Kim Mathis. Y'all check her out. This is not a plug for the book or anything, but I'm giving the plug in there.
Thank you.
Get the book, Dope Girl. Also check out right above my head right there, Kaleb Mathis's store, the Colorado NIL store, where you get his jersey and different merchandise with the number 13 on it and Mathis on the back. So this is another edition, Prime Parents. I'm Chico. My guest has been Miss Kim Mathis. I really appreciate you guys. Check her out online at any time. She is a public figure, so you can find her on Instagram. Right? Give them your Instagram. Let them know where they can find you at before you get out of here.
My Instagram handle is underscore Kim Mathis.
Underscore Kim Mathis.
Wait, hold on.
Make sure right.
let me let me double check because I think I checked. No, I'm so sorry. It is Kim Mathis underscore Kim Mathis underscore. So sorry. On Instagram. Yes.
No worries. We'll put it right here. Kim Mathis underscore. Y'all make sure y'all follow. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Much more to come. Prime Parents. I'm Chico. We out of this thing. Thank you guys for joining us.